Today is a fun day. We're going to play with something that we're moving into. I think it's chapter 8 in the textbook, and I want to explore one particular aspect of it. In that chapter, we mention a little bit about quite a few of the emotions that we have. I just want to spend 1 minute on anger, because well, first of all, we understand right now, or by now, that whenever we're angry about something, it is not the something that's making us angry, right? We all understand that. Yes? It's not the something out there that's making us angry. Right? Okay. We get that. Now, we said that all of our emotions are preceded by a thought. What is the I want you to think carefully about this, and we don't need to spend any more time than just 1 minute with this. What is the thought that you have every single time you're angry? What is the essence of the thought? And I guarantee it's the same one every time. What? Close. Be a little more general. Think about the last time you were angry. Closer. This is what essentially we say every time, and we don't need to spend any more time on this. Every time you are angry, this is the thought that you're having. At the essence of it, this shouldn't be happening this way. Or something like that. Every time you're angry, I guarantee that's what you're saying to yourself. This driver should not be going so slowly in the fast lane. This guy should not be looking at her that way. He shouldn't have said that way. This is always, if you analyze every time you're angry, that's what's happening in your head. What's the problem with that thought? That's what's happening. And you most all the time can't do anything about it. Anger really is a quite selfish emotion. Shouldn't be happening that way. Well, it is. And you can't do anything. You know what I mean? So next time you find yourself selecting anger, go back to the thought that you're having about the anger and see how you're saying this to yourself. And then recognize, and there's nothing wrong with being angry. It's okay to be angry. In the sense that we don't want to eliminate all of our emotions, but just know that if you're constantly angry about stuff, it's because you're thinking thoughts in this way. Does everyone understand that? Not anyone else doing it to you. Okay? All right. So today, are there any questions about that? Thoughts? Disagreements? So give me an example. I would actually want to be angry if somebody were hitting on my wife. But more proactive than that is how would I solve the problem. But eliminate him. Use our Second Amendment rights. So the thing that we know about anger, because like I said, I don't want to eliminate it, because I think there are times when anger is justified. Very rarely. An intensity level. Yeah. Productive, yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing, and I think if that's good sports psychology or not, I'm not sure. If I'm up to bat and I'm trying to hit a baseball, last thing I want to be is angry. But when I've played racquetball and somebody hits me in the leg, and I've played some pretty intense racquetball, and somebody hits me really hard in the leg, and I'm a little bit ticked off at him because he shouldn't have done that, I play better. With that little tiny bit of, okay. But that's not what I'm talking about. What do you think? Yeah, see, if it moves us to action about something that it shouldn't have happened, and there's nothing wrong with this way of thinking, except the problem with anger, because, absolutely, I don't think we should, oh, that's too bad. No, it's not too bad. It's wrong what they did. Okay? So but what I'm interested in is kind of over here on the other side of it, where we're just chronically angry at everything. We're driving on the road and somebody cuts us off. Somebody looks at us weird, and suddenly we're just on fire. When we do that chronically, our heart treats that anger emotion, and there's a book by Redford Williams called Anger Kills, where he's gone through all the research on what happens when we have that anger emotion, and it's just the same as nicotine as far as what's happening to your heart when you are angry like that. Okay? That's all I really want to focus on that, because we could go into the philosophical component of it, and that's for you to decide. From a health perspective, chronic anger is not a good call. And now that you understand that you're the one who's making yourself angry, then look at your thoughts and go, okay, well, I guess I am angry because I don't like how that umpire is making calls, and then do differently about that. That's the one that gets me, is that okay. Enough of that. So the other big item that we played with in chapter 8, I want to start off with a question. It's kind of an interesting one. It's a little bit more philosophical, but I want you to think for a second. I want you to answer, somebody just kind of, and not why are you here at 10:30 on a Tuesday, but why are you here as a being in this space-time continuum that we're currently in, as a human being? So love, okay? That way you feel like that's your main, in other words, what's your reason for being? And there's no wrong answers, obviously. To learn, is that what you feel like it resonates for you? Make a difference. Who said that? Make a difference. Make a difference about what? What do you mean by make a difference? Okay. Good for you. Anyone else? What comes to your mind when you say, well, why am I here? Because some of us haven't even thought of this before. Why am I here? What the heck am I doing here? To eat? So if you've eaten, then you've fulfilled your life's purpose. He's actualized. What do you think? To make choices and learn from how your choices lead to outcomes, kind of thing, and learn from that. Okay. What do you think? Propagate the species. Right? Become more of us through our offspring? Why not? Anything else comes to mind? What do you think, Mary Kay? What do you mean by your experiences? Okay. Okay, yeah. To be able to have your experience. To experience your experience is maybe the best way of saying that, huh? I want to throw out one. It's really, I'm always happy to hear this. Kind of, when I used to teach this class in West Virginia, I taught college out there for 4 years, and very commonly it was to have a good time. I mean, that was pretty much what they wanted most, was to have a good time. And I'm okay with having a good time. Just doesn't seem like, seems like there's something more to it. But I want to give you this kind of diagram, or this model that kind of incorporates a lot of these things that we've said here today. And when it was explained to me, and where we're going with it today, I thought this is one of the coolest things I've ever learned. And I want to start with and this is how I'll start. So we've got a circle like this, and this is you, or me, that's in this circle. Okay? Now, can somebody give me a good definition for a comfort zone? When I say the word comfort zone, what synonyms come to your mind? What? Your bedroom. What do you, okay, so be a little less detailed. Like if you were to say, okay, a comfort zone also means blah. What? Okay, so not so specifically, what does it mean? So what did you say? Doing things that are comfortable. I saw. Yeah. Yeah. What were you going to say? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you several laws of human behavior today. The first one is this. So, a comfort zone is kind of a place that we're familiar with, a place that we feel no threat in. We tend to do frequently. We're very happy there. The first law of human behavior that we want to play with today is the fact that we tend to gravitate toward our comfort zones. We tend to gravitate toward our comfort zones. So in other words, we tend to like to go this way. There's nothing wrong with that. But why is that the case? Why do you think that is a natural thing for us as human beings? Survival meaning? Yeah. Good. For sure you know you're going to be safe. Why else? Yeah. I mean, people don't do yoga for the very reason that they think those positions really hurt. You know, some pretzel thing where your legs over your... That doesn't feel very comfortable. Why would I do it? Good. Excellent. What do you think? Yeah. Right. So we can say with some confidence we like those places where there is no pain or potential for pain. The threat idea. And we all have comfort zones. A lot of them. How many of you are sitting in the same seat you sat in the first day of class? Or pretty close? How many of you tend to drive the same way to school that you always drive? How many of you tend to eat the same kind of foods every single day? And I'm not being critical of this. There's nothing wrong with the fact that I eat peanut butter and honey sandwiches every single day for lunch. It's not a bad thing. It's just easy and it's quick. Now, so we tend to want to be in those places that are comfortable, safe, no pain. Now, there is another law, or there's another natural aspect of us that is also part of who we are, is we have a tendency to want to also expand. We also like to grow as a natural part of our being. We like to, and it's very interesting, this word expand and the word heaven both come from the same initial root word. Expanse. If you go back from the word expanse, they both mean the same thing. Now, here's the rub. So we have a natural inclination to remain in our comfort zones. We also have a natural inclination to become more of who we are. Some of these things that you guys said, to learn, to experience, well, that's probably there too, but to make a difference. All of these things are about becoming more of who we are. There's one problem with this. And the problem is going from here to here involves overcoming fear. There's and sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, but there's a component in there where going from where we are comfortable to where we outside of our comfort zones, and we could call this area, so let's just give it a name. We don't really see this too much, but we'll call this our discomfort zone outside of here. This is our discomfort zone. Discomfort zone. Okay, so our expansion takes us into our discomfort zone, and because we sense a possibility for discomfort, the feeling of fear accompanies that. Okay, does that make sense so far? Now, if you analyze your own experience, you'll think, well, most of the time when I've grown a little, it's not been that bad. Okay, and because you're thinking rightly through the situation, and there's the possibility for fear taking place. And so what I want to do for the rest of today is explore what we mean by fear, because really, fear is one of those things that once you understand it, you'll realize how little you need it. What a useless emotion it is, and how much it gets in the way of what you want. Now, the way I always like to picture this is, let's say that Sarah is, and don't take this the wrong way, Sarah is a goal that I have. Let's say that Sarah is something that I want, okay? And I'm right here. And I think, this is really nice. Something that I want. Could be anything under the sun. And I think, it would be nice to have this goal, this outcome, this end result. And then a big wall shoots between me and Sarah of fear. And all I see instead of Sarah is this wall that I've constructed that gets in the way of me getting what I want. That's how I picture fear, is it's an enormous obstacle on my way to the things I want. And I choose to have the fear instead of the good outcome. Does that make sense so far? So if we can understand what this wall consists of, what this fear is, I mean, not what the fear is, but what the fear is about, then we can go, well, I guess I don't need that wall anymore. And then we start just going after what we want. Bob?
What if the outcome could be a negative? I guess. It's not always, it's just like, obviously you create the law and that's fear. So like, what if you fear the outcome not being what you want? Where it could be good, but it could be bad as well.
So you would set up a goal that you don't want?
Well, no, but it's kind of like, let's say you love rock climbing, and like you are afraid of dying, but it's what you want to do in your life. You're so afraid of going and you're not certain outcome.
So balancing the risk-reward is somewhere in the mix. Yeah, so you just do that. You just balance it. Yeah, well, when we understand fear, there's a difference between caution and fear. There's a difference between prudence and fear. There's a difference between wisdom. You know, if I were rock climbing, I would know that there's been some walls I do not want to go up because I know for sure I'll fall. That's not necessarily fear in the sense of me not, it's wisdom, understanding physics and my body shape and how strong my hands are.
Like the fear of like the mile, like you want to go and take like the girl, you want to talk to her, that's what your goal is.
And those are the things we're going to talk about today. That's a different thing than the rock climbing might die thing. Because you want to not die. Okay, so here are some things that we know for sure about fear. Okay, and these you'd probably want to write down. These are principles associated with fear. Now, let me ask you this. If I got two really big buckets, okay, I just two big buckets, big handles, and I walked around I started here and I went all around the earth. And I wanted to gather up all the fear, like coconuts, you know, I could grab all the fear that I could find and put them in these buckets. When I got back from my journey, how full would my buckets be? Really? So, like coconuts, that I can put, where's the fear that I'm going to put in these buckets? Okay. But if I were looking for it anywhere in the world, like, show me fear. Show me some fear in this room. I can see a light. I can see a table. Show me some fear. So, based on our discussion last time of experience and reality, is fear and being mindful, is fear one of those things that would be in that reality column? Or is it in the we make it up column? Yeah, there's no fear out there. There's no fear anywhere that you can pick up and go, oh, okay, here's an eighth of a cup of fear. And I'll put it in my bucket. There's no such, that's not, okay, that's the first thing. Is there's no fear out there that we can gather up like coconuts. Okay? So, first one, nope, there's no fear. And I'm going to say, make it a little bit more thorough. There is nothing in the world that is inherently fearful. There's nothing, I still haven't found anything that is universally fearful to everyone who experiences it. Okay, and I want you to think carefully. Don't just accept Mike says it, so it must be true. Think about it and ask yourself, well, what about? And then think of something fearful and ask, could somebody not have fear associated with that? And when I say fear, the way I would define fear is the emotion that we have when we think of a future outcome and associate some pain with it. When we make up a pain about a future event. Doesn't matter. But 99% of the time, it's psychological. You know, we'll use Bobby's or whoever it was, where you're going to call up somebody. You call up, you're thinking you're going to call up this really cute girl, and you find yourself barely able to dial your phone. You're, oh geez, I'm so nervous. Well, where in there is there going to be pain? No matter what she says, where in there is there going to be pain? There's none. So that's psychological fear, that psychological pain there. Oh, she's going to say, get lost, jerk. Oh, geez, will hurt. Well, you're making up that hurt. She said some words. But you have the fear that what she says to me is going to hurt. And so the avoiding that hurt, that potential hurt, is that's the fear. Okay? Pretty close. Yeah, they're very, very close. But fear is almost entirely future-oriented. Threat can be, you're thinking about what's now, the past, that event and the guilt that you have. I mean, they're all very nicely intertwined. But the same principles apply for them all. Fear I want to focus on fear because it stops us from going for what we want so much. So when we understand what we're thinking, we just start going for things. We go, oh man, she's a 10 and I'm a 3. Well, I'm still going to ask her out. Because I choose how I feel about what she says when she says, get lost, jerk. Okay, well, that's one person who I don't need to ask out again. Doesn't make a difference on me if that's how I think about it. And remember, we have unlimited choice on how we think about stuff. Okay? Kind of getting ahead of myself. But I can't think of anything that is universally fearful to everyone who experiences it. Can you? I mean, think of the things that scare you. Elevators. I know plenty of people who go in elevators, no problem. Yeah. Okay, and so that leads to this second one, because thank you for bringing that up. All fears, let's see, are learned. Except for, there's two that may be, and you mentioned one of them. There's two that may be inherent in us. In other words, babies have maybe, and the jury's still not out on whether if that's what's going on as a fear or if it's something else, but essentially babies sense fear, and do you remember what the other one is? What do you think it would be the other one that would be inherent in us? They don't understand the idea of danger because they don't understand, there's no recognition that something would turn out to be a problem for them. Say that again? Probably. Probably. And it's instinctive, those kinds of things. But there's only two fears that they have discovered, well, this is probably inherent in your DNA or your physiology. One is falling. You know what the other one is? Loud noises, yes. Loud noises is the other one. Those two are still maybe, probably inherent fears. Every other fear that we have is learned. Now, if you're thinking logically, if all fears are learned, then logically, what's the rest of the sentence? Yes. All fears are learned, they are also unlearned. This isn't the right word, but you know what I'm saying. They are unlearnable. They are able to be unlearned. So you're not attached to whatever fear. I mean, if you think about spiders. Anyone here afraid of spiders? So there's no, it's not inherent in your genes that you're afraid of spiders. And if you learn to be afraid of spiders, and I'm not saying, okay, we're going to fix your fear of spiders. That's in the next class. If you figure out why, the fact that you did learn at some point to be afraid of spiders, you can also not be afraid of spiders down the road somehow by whatever method you use to deal with that fear. Okay? Now, we basically learned our fears from two places, primarily where? Yep, our own experience. And where else? Yep, others' experiences. And so, like my son, for example, my wife is really not fond of bees and wasps and such. And we have a lot of wasps in our house. And I have noticed that my 4-year-old has picked up on that. And when he was like 1 or 2, the bugs would fly around, outside, or they'd occasionally come in the house. Nothing. Wouldn't bother him at all. But he, seeing my wife going, wasp or something, he going, oh, I guess fear wasp, bad thing. Okay, I guess I'm supposed to be afraid of that too. And now he is. And that's how we picked up a lot of our fears. Yeah, and that's where you've learned it from our own experience. Yeah, absolutely. That I don't like that pain, and I don't like the allergic reaction that I have to that, so I'm going to avoid that at all costs. Fear. Good. So, and it's okay. So I'm not saying fears are bad, unless they're stopping you from getting what you want. That's the whole thing that we're talking about today. Being afraid of bees is not a bad thing. Being afraid of spiders, not a bad thing. Just know that you're the one who created that fear and not somebody else or something else. Okay, now this is the third principle, which when I understood this changed everything. This changed absolutely everything for me as far as starting to go for things, the 3 asking out the 10, the try and write a book, the go for college when I'm a dumb jock, go for be a graduate student when I'm a dumb jock. All of these things that everyone said, no, you couldn't possibly do this. You'll never make it. You'll never do this. Or my own thoughts that said, I'll never make it. I'll never get the 10. I'll never get the college degree. I'll never write books. I'll never do all these things. And as soon as I understood this, I just started going for it. Let's just start trying. And this is the principle. There is no pain in our discomfort zone. Out here, the pain that we make up, that we call our discomfort zone, entirely is that. We made it up, not real. Easy way to test that. So Who's sat in the exact same place every time? So Sarah, you have? Okay, and you kind of like it there, don't you? Do you sit basically there in most all of your classes? Kind of this far away, not in the back row, not on the side, but sort of in the middle. So if we took Sarah and asked her to go sit in that seat back there, would she have any, would it be a painful experience for her? Oh, she'd be fine. And that's the way it is with everything. It would be, she would think, oh, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable back there. And then you go back there, oh, I'm fine. Of course I'm fine. And when I mean pain, I mean the physical kind that you're actually going to get hurt. Remember, the psychological pain is you making that up. And I know, we don't want to go there, we don't want to believe that, but really, it always is. We make that up, whether we are hurt. Okay? So, this is not an unsafe place. The first day that you were in kindergarten, do you remember that? Was that scary? Man, I cried for probably 3 days. I did not want to go to kindergarten. And then I expanded. And here's the cool thing is, as soon as we get this, as soon as we go, oh, it's safe out here, then we become more of who we are. And then our comfort zone gets bigger. Oh, I can handle kindergarten. And then we go to play in the teams that have, I don't want to play with the team, I don't know any of those guys. And then we go and play with them, and we've expanded more. And that's the way it is. As soon as we understand that our discomfort zones are really safe places, we start going, oh man, I guess I can call it pretend, because I'll be okay. Does that make sense so far? Questions? I know, we're turning your world upside down. Man, I've been so afraid of everything. I know people who are like that. I'm so afraid of everything. I don't want to do anything. And then they get this, and they realize, what a waste. What a waste to be scared of stuff. Call them up. When I was, and I'm not trying to be all, I'm as normal and plain as anybody. I'm the plainest person I know. When it comes to, like, bell curve, I'm right in the middle. For normal. And I started going, and I always thought I was like this direction of the bell curve, the I can't do stuff. And then I started getting this, and I thought, and I remember reviewing a textbook on stress. And I was reading through it, and I had to do a really thorough analysis of it. And I just kept getting angry at it. I was thinking it shouldn't be that way. I kept getting, this guy did a rotten job. I could do better than this. And somebody said, well, I was talking with somebody, and they said, well do it. And I can't possibly write a book. Try anyway. What have you got to lose? And I thought about it. I don't know. I can't think of a thing that I have to lose by doing it. Would I be worse off by trying? And so I submitted this proposal. And they say usually proposals, you have to submit them. So I submitted a proposal, and the guy said, at this publishing company said, wow, I really like that. Really? Oh no, now I have to write a book. And then I had more fear. And then they found somebody to help me out, and it just came together. And 8 years later, we're on our 3rd edition, and I still can't believe that I did that, because I'm just a dumb jock. I'm really not a writer, nor do I have any brilliant, I'm middle of the curve. But I decided, what do I have to lose? One of our biggest, if we were to look at the different kinds of fears that we have, I think one of the biggest walls, one of the biggest barriers between us and getting what we want is this idea of this fear of failure. And I want to talk about that for just a minute. We think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go for it because for sure I'll fail. Let's look at a few kinds of fears individually. And I want to start with the idea of failure. Because, and again, these are not the kinds of fears that are legitimate. You know, I don't want to touch the black widow spider. I don't want to go up a wall. These are the kind of things that, the kind of fears that are, it's getting in the way of me getting the things that I most want to have happen in my life. What is the thought that we have when we think, when we're going, yeah, this fear of failure is what's stopping me? What is the thought that we're having, that we're constructing in our heads as we're, when we make that wall pop up? You know what I mean? Does that make sense how I asked that? Because, and when we think of failure, when we think of that, what do you mean? And when we say fail, what are we really saying? I mean, they don't want to see us. Okay. Based on what? Based on what? Yeah, we set up an expectation, right? We set up some expectation, and if we think we won't, for whatever reason, if it's ours or somebody else's, and not reaching this expectation, for some reason we've decided that's going to hurt. Oh man, my parents said that I should go to college, but I really haven't done very well in college. So I'm failing. When you get you're taking a test and you don't do as well as you expected, you call it failing, right? Now the thought that we have that is the wall is, well, I'm likely to fail. In other words, I'm likely to not reach an expectation, so I'm not even going to try. Now, how do we deal with that so that we stop, so that that expectation doesn't get in the way of, or the pain that we create for not meeting that expectation disappears? How can we disappear that wall? Oh, expect to fail? Okay, so I see one thing happening with this.
You would change your expectations. So, say, thinking about them, and if I didn't get a move to that place, I could have the mentality of America,
And so I'm not going to try that move again.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to do it again because I don't know how to do it, obviously. Or, I can think of this expectation, my failure to do something positive, like, oh, I messed up, let's give it another go, or I use it as a learning experience. I obviously not supposed to be my head back.
So, what couple things are happening here. You had a... Okay. What if we change the word failure to something else, like outcome? How would that change how you approach whatever it is that you're considering going for? And in other words, when I ask it, what I'm interested in knowing is, what would you do if you knew it were impossible to fail? What would you do? Wouldn't you just go for stuff? If you knew it were impossible to fail, you would just find yourself, well, okay, I'll go for that. If I can't fail, if I can't possibly fail, then I'll just go for that. And if I can't possibly fail at that, then I'll just go for that. Well, here's how you do that. But let me give you an example. And I'm going to give the example, and then we'll explore what that means. A few years ago, I ran in the St. George Marathon. And if you've ever run in a marathon, it's a long run. Very far. I don't recommend it. It's a long ways. No, I think it's great. Now, let me ask you this. We'll go through what we're doing here. We'll make sense of what we're doing here. When I ran in this race, and I'm trying to get the right number because I want to get it exactly right, I took 2,921st place. I was 254th place in my division. Not very fast, apparently, for guys who were in their early 40s. Did I fail or did I succeed? You said good job. So you're saying that wasn't a failure that I took 2,921st. Okay. Now, hold on just a second. There was a guy who, the night before we ran the race, there was a guy who stayed in this little hut that was right there at the beginning of the race instead of down in St. George. There's a little hut that you could stay in, and next to us were two guys who were really fast runners. And let's see, the guy who, the top runner at the race, he finished the race almost exactly 2 hours faster than me. Okay, did he succeed? Okay, probably. The guy who came in second finished 13 seconds behind him. Did he succeed or fail? Okay, let me add one more person. There was another guy who was in that same area that we stayed. We were talking to them. They were all really elite runners. And he was trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, so he had to get a certain race time. And he missed it by 45 seconds. He finished a full hour before I did. Okay? Now, you said that I succeeded at just under 4 hours. The first and second place guys, the first place guy succeeded. The second place guy depends. And this guy, did he fail or succeed? He didn't make it to the Boston Marathon. Okay, so here's what are we doing here? What are we doing with our analysis of these outcomes? What? Yeah. And what is it that, from a cognitive perspective, what is it that you're doing? What is it that he just said we're doing with that event? What is it that he's done?